Good morning. Today is Thursday. Excuse me. Thursday, October 13th, 2022. I just want to mention that this Sunday we will not be meeting due to Hoshana Rabbah. The services, the davening lasts longer and it will overlap with the 10 at 9. So we're studying this morning and hopefully with God's help tomorrow morning. And then we will resume after Simchas Torah next week on Wednesday. Tonight we are studying at 7 p.m. Woody Allen once said, "I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve it through not dying." So Sukkot is Zman Simchosenu, the time of our rejoicing. Now, this coming Shabbos, it's the Shabbos of Chol HaMoed, the intermediate Shabbos of Sukkot, and we're going to read a book from the Torah. So, if you had your choice of which book to read on this Shabbos, the Shabbos of Sukkot, and you could choose any of the books of the Torah, what would be your last choice? I think my last choice would probably be Eov, the story of Job, which is about suffering. Okay, but certainly second place in my last choice would be Kohelet, the book of Ecclesiastes. Hakol havolim amar Kohelet. Kohelet says everything is empty, everything is fleeting, everything is meaningless. What in the world are we doing reading this on Sukkot that is supposed to be Zman Simchosenu, the time of our rejoicing? It seems like such an odd choice of a book of the Torah to read this Shabbos. So the truth is, Rabbi Jonathan Sacks explains that Kohelet asks a question that every one of us asks and lives with. We live with this question. And Kohelet provides the answer that can change our lives. And the answer is Sukkot. Let me explain. And I'll start with a key word. A key word, meaning a word that is repeated in the book of Kohelet more than almost any other word, is the word Hevel. The word Hevel is used 5 times just in the second pasuk itself. A total, in different forms, 38 times this word appears in the book of Kohelet. Now, you'll see many translations of this word Hevel: vanity, emptiness, futility, but a more precise translation of the word Hevel is shallow or fleeting breath. And the question that Kohelet asks is, since all of life is a mere fleeting breath, in the end we all die, what does life mean? That's the question that Kohelet poses. That is a question that every one of us asks and lives with. What does life mean? Ernest Becker wrote a monumental book, The Denial of Death. If you have not read it, I strongly recommend it. It's a classic, The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. And he argues that the primary motivator in life is our anxiety over death. Our fear of death leads us to do things that we feel or hope will live forever. We accumulate possessions. We pursue power. We write books. We build buildings. We create art. We spend our lives trying to leave something that will live on after us. But they all fail to defeat death because we won't live to see it. And this is the question Kohelet poses. At the very beginning of the work, Ma yisron la'adam b'chol amalo sheyamol tachas hashemesh. Of what benefit, of what use, of what value is it for a person? All of the striving, all of the work, all of the activity that we do under the sun in this life. And then Kohelet says, Higdalti masai, banisi li batim. I built houses, I planted vineyards, I made gardens, I constructed pools, I acquired stewards, I own more possessions, I amassed silver and gold, I provided myself with musical instruments and with every human luxury. V'hine hakol hevel. And behold, it was all futile. It was all fleeting breath. And then Kohelet provides the answer. So if all of those pursuits fail to make life meaningful, what does? Kohelet says, Yadati, I now know, ki ein tov bam, ki im lismoach v'la'asos tov b'chayav. The only thing that is good is to rejoice and to do good in our lives. V'ra'isi ki ein tov me'asher yismach ha'adam b'masav. I learned that there is nothing better in life than to rejoice in the actions that you perform. V'shibachti ani es hasimcha. I came to praise joy. Asher ein tov la'adam tachas hashemesh. There is nothing better for a person under the sun in this world. Simcha. That is the way to make life meaningful. How do we understand that? So the best way that I can explain the precise meaning and significance of Simcha for Kohelet in this context is to point to what, for many of us, is our highest moment of Simcha, of joy, standing under the chuppah with our new spouse at the moment that we are married. And at that peak moment, at every Jewish wedding ceremony, we break a glass. Why? Well, to remember that at this moment of our peak joy, everything is not perfect. Jerusalem is not rebuilt. We have conflicts, we have crises, we have worries. And yet, we appreciate the joy of this moment. Because here's the truth. Life is a risk. Life can be dark, life can be frightening, and life is certainly uncertain. And that is what Simcha is. The ability to experience and appreciate the joy that is in this moment. Putting aside the worries of yesterday and tomorrow. Just thank God for now. That is Simcha. And Simcha has the potential to remove or at least greatly lessen our fear of death, because by allowing us to substitute joy for anxiety and fear, we will then, and we can find Simcha in just about every moment of life if we choose to. And when we focus on simcha, we push aside the fear of death. We push aside the past and we push aside the future and focus on the present. That's when we can push aside the fear of death, because we can experience simcha with all those questions we have set aside for the moment. And this answer to the challenge of death is Sukkot. On Sukkot, we leave our permanent home and we enter a diras aroi, a temporary dwelling of our sukkah, a dwelling in which we are vulnerable, a dwelling that will not last, just as our lives, our bodies, are temporary dwellings that will not last, that are vulnerable to the elements and the ravages of time. And with our vulnerability to the wind and the cold and the rain and our vulnerability to the vicissitudes of life, in that temporary dwelling, we rejoice. We set aside what has happened in the past. We set aside what might happen in the future. We focus on this moment of feeling joy, and we experience Zman Simchasenu, the time of our rejoicing. The joy of being together with our family and our friends in the sukkah, being together with our community in the synagogue, enjoying delicious meals, recognizing and appreciating the embrace and protection of God's presence, God's enveloping presence, thanking God for now, for this moment, and then the wind and the rain that came yesterday or that might come later, it doesn't matter. Sukkos is the answer that Kohelet provides. I want to share with you a story. It's a remarkable story. Years ago, we had a Bar Mitzvah at ADATH. And the grandfather of the boy was a Holocaust survivor. And he insisted on speaking at the Bar Mitzvah. And this was very much out of character for him, because this man was an extremely quiet, reserved, I would say withdrawn man. But he insisted he had to speak at this Bar Mitzvah. And here is the message that he felt it necessary to share from his experiences, to share with his grandson and with all of us on his Bar Mitzvah. He told the story, a fable. And the fable goes like this. It was Friday night, Shabbos night. There was a large crowd around the table about to begin the Shabbos Seudah, the Shabbos meal, Friday night dinner. And the husband asks his wife to fill the Kiddush cup with wine. She did, but the cup was not filled. So he took the bottle of wine and he poured the entire bottle of wine into the Kiddush cup, but the cup was not filled. And he took another bottle of wine and poured it into the cup, and another bottle, and he poured the entire bottle into the cup of wine, but it did not fill. And he was worried, what did I do wrong that I cannot fill the Kiddush cup? And just then, an angel flew overhead. And the angel was crying. And a tear fell into the cup. And the cup was filled. And he said to his grandson, it is necessary to have a tear to fill a cup for simcha, for joy. If you can have a tear and fill your cup for simcha, for joy, then you will live a full life, regardless of the number of your years. And you will defeat death. That is the message of Kohelet, and that is the message of Sukkot. My friends, I want to wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person. I would love to hear what you think. Does that make sense to you at all?
Wow.
Do you agree? You disagree?
Amazing.
It's really pretty amazing.
But it's so true because so often when we want to feel like everything is just fine, and then something creeps in. All the time there's like a spark of negativity that comes, and then we feel uncomfortable with it. We feel we got to get rid of the negativity, but no, we have to include it and then elevate it, like make it part of our lives to like accept the negativity. This is a beautiful thing.
It is. It is. I'll tell you, just to speak personally and honestly, I'm not always able to do this. I try, once in a while to be able to focus on the joy that I'm feeling, even though there's other stuff going on. It's hard. It's hard to do. It takes a lot of self-control, a lot of focus. But when you can do it, in that moment, it's just you're beyond. You're beyond.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good, Rabbi.
Important message. Important message. Thank you, Rabbi Sacks, for helping me understand Kohelet, and thank you to that grandfather for that great story. Amazing.
I'm very happy to hear you.
Thank you, Vivian. And I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy to see you. Yes, Pearl, I'm listening.
It was excellent.
Thank you.
And when you talked about life is temporary, and you talked about it's a risk, but I remember the words of our late rabbi, and he once said it, I remember, life is risky. No one gets out of it alive. And I love that line because it's true. And I have an addendum because I always say, I have my little crazy expressions, but my expression is no one gets the whole apple.
That's true.
So when people complain about X and Y and Z, and we all have trials and tribulations, but there's nobody that escapes it. But I always say, nobody gets the whole apple.
That's it. You're right. It's a good line. It's a good line. Very good, my friends. Thank you so much. I didn't say hello to Bina. Hi, Bina. And it's good to be with you all.
And don't forget tonight at 7.
Tonight at 7 p.m. Tomorrow morning, with God's help, 9 a.m. Sunday, we will not be studying together because it's Hoshana Rabbah, but we will resume on Wednesday, the day after Simchas Torah, with God's help. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Look forward to seeing you tonight.